Feeling overwhelmed trying to book your next cruise? One minute you're thinking about the Caribbean and the Mediterranean and dreaming about the endless buffet, and then all of a sudden you're stuck trying to figure out, which ship do I choose? What cabin category do I pick? And all the confusing cruise terms that go along with this. Don't stress, I've got you covered. Hey cruisers, welcome back. I'm Sami, and today I am walking you through the steps to take so that way you can book your cruise like a seasoned traveler. I'll cover how to pick the right destination, cruise line, and cabin, plus what to expect and what to avoid along the way. Now let's dive into this. Step 1, start with the destination and your cruise style. Where is it that you want to go? Do you want to go to the Caribbean? Do you want to go to the Mediterranean? Alaska? If you're looking to escape the cold weather wherever you're from, maybe from up north, and you want warmer weather, then the Caribbean obviously will be the one for you. If you're looking into history and culture, a European cruise. If you're looking into nature and wildlife, Alaska might be it for you. Now think about your vacation style. Is this a relaxing cruise? Is this adventurous? Is this a family cruise? Knowing what the vacation style that you're going after will help you to be able to better match up with the cruise line as well as ship, so that way you can have a better vacation. Choose the right cruise line as well as ship. Cruise lines have their own personalities. For example, think of Disney. Disney is all family based. That is it. Or you have a company like Virgin Voyages, which is strictly adults only, and it's focusing on fitness and relaxation with a luxury boutique feel, atmosphere. Then you have companies like Carnival and Royal Caribbean that are family centered, all the fun, all the action, all the activities you can think of. Now, in order for you to pick the right one, you want to do your research. And you can do that by watching YouTube videos, watching ship tours, reading reviews about the different ship, and seeing what this different ship, as well as cruise line, once you narrow it down, has to offer you. And is it going to suit your needs? One thing to note is that the bigger ships will obviously have a lot of bells and whistles, and they're catered to a wide range of people. That's going to be your families. So they will have water parks, racetracks, all sorts of sports deck activities, everything to include everyone in the family. And now you have, and those are basically where the ship is the destination when you think about it. When you look at your smaller ships are going to be focused more towards relaxation, as well as the different ports. Because keep in mind that smaller ships have the ability to visit more exotic ports because they're able to fit into these ports, whereas these massive ships are not able to really do that. So they're limited to where they can really go as far as destination in comparison to your smaller cruise ships. So when do you book? Well, you will hear that the earlier you book, the better. And that's just hands down. They usually say anywhere from 6 to 18 months, but really you can go all the way up to 2 years out. And reason being is that's when you're going to find the best rates, to be honest. Because inventory opens up, especially if it's a new release of a new cruise ship or new itinerary, for some exotic destination. The further out you book, the better your price will be. And that's only because, obviously inventory is higher. So, there you go. You have a lot of inventory to choose from. So your rates are going to be lower. Whereas once inventory starts to go down, so then now everyone's, fighting for the same cabin, then, the cruise lines are going to just jack up the rates. So anywhere from 6 months out to, I want to say 24 months, you want to go ahead and book your cruise. One thing to note as well is that if you're a person that you're into the suites, those tend to go quicker, as well as family cabins, because there are not that many family cabins for certain cruise lines. So you want to make sure that if that is that type of cabin that you are in need of, whether it be a family cabin or an accessible cabin, as well as your suites. Those are definitely something you do not want to wait on the last minute, because you will be out of luck, because they will be already taken. So if that is something that you need to make sure that you are booking well in advance, so that way you can have the cabin that will suit your needs. You also want to keep in mind wave season. Now, wave season basically takes place in the months of January to March, and that is when basically, after the holiday season, these cruise lines give out these nice rates when it comes to the cruise rates, so that way they can get people to book again and get things going, and stuff like that. And that's when you really want to, if you do have any interest in a cruise, that's during the time you really want to go ahead and take advantage, because there are some pretty good deals during that time of the year. You also have what is called the shoulder season. I always have a hard time saying that word. And that's basically around April and May, and then around October. Now, during that time, season is low depending on where you're going to travel. So the rates are going to be a little lower, you'll notice, during that time of the year. Clearly, your peak time is going to be your popular times. So holidays, hands down. Spring break, summer, you're going to pay the price. If you book ahead, as I mentioned before, maybe 6 to 18 or even 2 years out for that time of year, then you'll get a break. But don't wait at the last minute. Don't wait in April trying to book for your summer vacation with your family in July, which is only 2 months, 3 months away, and thinking that you're going to get a deal. No, you are going to pay sucker price through the nose. So if you can avoid it, if you can. If you can't, just make sure that you book way in advance so you can get the best rate. It is what it is. But if you cannot, then just be warned, you're not getting the deal. You're paying what it is. Okay? So just keep in mind, you have your wave season, you have your shoulder season, and you also have your basically the time of the year where some people get a little funny, which is also hurricane season. You'll also find decrease in rates as well around the September-ish, October-ish time frame, because some people are afraid to cruise during hurricane season. But if you're okay with it, then you can always snag a decent rate during that time, because you have to keep in mind too that the cruise line, they're not going to cancel their itineraries depending on if the storm's going to hit that place. That's different. But they're not going to cancel a cruise ship, a cruise destination because of a hurricane. They will just basically go around the hurricane, bypass it. But so if you're okay with that, then you got a good rate on your cruise. If you're not and you're still leery about it, then stay away from, the September, October timeframe. Here's a savvy tip for you. Make sure that you book early, so that way you can have the exact cabin that you would like, as well as location, as well as any popular itineraries. For example, Alaska. Alaska is a very popular cruise destination because it's a bucket list cruise. So when those itineraries get released, they get booked up pretty quickly. And that is one of those itineraries that you are going to book at least 2 years in advance. So make sure, if that is something that you want, a bucket list destination as well as holidays, you're booking that well in advance, so that way you can get the best bang for your buck. Now, the next question is, how do I book and what is it that I need? Now, you have several options that you can use to book your cruise. You can basically book it online yourself, either on the cruise line's website, or you can call into their customer service and have one of their representatives book the cruise for you. You can go through a third party like Expedia, who also has vacation packages that can, where you can book your cruise. Or you can work with a travel advisor, such as myself, that can assist you with the whole planning process from start to finish, and also advise you with different things that you may not even be thinking about, like, recommendations with ports, things like dress codes, things like diet, Things like that sometimes, we fail to think about, but if you have someone who is also a cruiser and also is able to help you with the planning process, it can make the whole process seamless. Now, a couple of things that you're going to need when you are in the process of booking your cruise is basically the legal names of all the parties that will be going on the cruise, date of birth, contact information, your payment method of, how you're choosing to pay for your cruise, as well as you want to make sure that you have any medical conditions or accommodations that anyone in your party may need, dietary needs, as well as any loyalty numbers if you're part of a loyalty program, because there are little perks that you can get if you do have that. And those are just some basic information that you would need. Next up is cabin selection. Now, there's more to it than just an inside cabin versus a balcony cabin. You want to take into account things like motion sensitivity, noise level, convenience, as well as the view. Now, for those of you who are first-time cruisers, there are basically 4 main types of cabin categories that you'll find. You're going to have your inside cabin, which is your most budget-friendly, and that is no balcony or ocean view at all. Then you're going to have an ocean view cabin, which will give you a porthole or a window that you can have natural light coming in. And then you're going to have your balcony cabin. So think of those, they're going to be a little bit mid-range in price or so, depending on which one you decide to book. And you will have, like, some of them come with a table, chairs, loungers, and then your highest category tier is going to be your suites, and your suites will range. There's 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, family suites, grand suites, but that's going to be definitely at a higher price point. So these are things that you want to consider when you are making your cabin selection, because that will determine the price of your cruise. Is not only the ship that you pick as well as the itinerary, but more so what cabin are you going to pick to go on your cruise destination. Now, if you are a person who is prone to seasickness or car sickness or anything like that, then you want to be mindful of not picking a cabin that is going to be towards the front of the ship, which is called the forward, or the back of the ship, which is called the aft. You want to be more centered and low in a mid-lower deck, because that's where you're going to find the less movement. Now, keep in mind, nowadays, a lot of these cruise ships have enhanced technology where they have stabilizers, especially these massive ones. But for some people, they still do feel a little bit of the motion of the ocean. So you want to be mindful of where you do select your cabin. You can get assistance with a person who is more familiarized with the ship and the layout. And so when you are trying to book your cruise, if you are running into any issues, these might be situations where you might want to get a travel advisor involved to help you with the whole planning process. Another thing to keep in mind when you are looking at your cabins is picking a cabin that's near, the community areas. Like, say, for example, underneath the pool deck, you're going to get noise from that. Underneath the theater, there will be noise, or the nightclub. So you want to be mindful when you are picking the cabin location, because those things can be a bother for some, and for some, it may not be. If you're a person who cannot walk very long distances, because some of these cruise ships are quite long and large, I should say, then you want to see if you can get a cabin that's near the elevator as well. So as I mentioned before, these are things that if you have someone that is helping you plan the cruise, that can take into account your needs, and that way you can have the best cabin selection for you. Know what's included and what's not. Now, your cruise fare is going to include the basics like your meals, your room and board, obviously, basic drinks, as well as entertainment. But don't be surprised that there are extras. And for first-time cruisers, sometimes that can be a little shock. Like your dining packages, your drink packages, like a soda package, or if you wanted special water or coffees, That's going to cost you extra. Certain activities, if you're that person who says, oh, I want to go on this cruise line because they have the go-kart that I want to ride, well, you're going to pay for that. If you want to do an escape room, for example, like on Royal Caribbean, you're going to pay for that. Keep in mind things like your excursions, gratuities will be added, as well as Wi-Fi. So I do have a video that discusses what's included and what's not, and I will make sure that I link them in this video here, so that way it can give you an idea and gives you a clear picture, so that way you know ahead of time, besides finding the right cruise ship, cruise line, cruise ship, and cabin, what else is there to expect for your cruise vacation. So here are the final steps that you want to do before you hit book on your cruise that you want to make a note of. First, make sure that you check the spellings of all the parties that are going to be going on your cruise ship, as well as checking the date of births. And also verifying your travel documents to make sure that you have the proper travel documents. If you are using passports, make sure that they are valid and that your passport basically has to be valid 6 months after your cruise ends. If you don't have a passport, I would highly advise that you do get one, because to travel, leaving out of the country, you just never know when you're going to need to be able to make it back home. And if you do not have a passport, it becomes really cumbersome to try to get back home, because you have to visit a U.S. embassy and all of this stuff. But travel with a passport if you can. Even for the little ones. Make sure that you review your the cancellation as well as the refund policies of the cruise ship, so there are no surprises there. Another one that some people tend to not do and save it on the back burner is to purchase travel insurance. It's a big one. It's one of those things where, oh, I don't want to spend the extra money, but just like any other insurance, it's better to have it than to not, because you don't want to be sorry if you don't have it. Things happen, and we're not only talking about injuries, but we're talking about, say if you miss your flight because of the weather, or someone gets sick, or you can't take time off of work. Anything can happen. So if you have travel insurance, that way you know that your trip is secured, and at least you can, recoup some of the money that you put into that cruise vacation in the event that you cannot take the cruise. Sign up for the cruise lines app. Everyone has an app nowadays, and a lot of things are done on the app, whereas checking in is done on the app, booking entertainment, looking at the schedule, looking at the cruise layout, the cruise ship's layout. Even some cruise lines, you're even able to communicate with guest services through the app, order meals, book excursions. So make sure you download the app and you familiarize yourself with the app as well, because it makes the whole process much smoother. Also, you want to make sure that you create an online account, and that way you are able to prep for your cruise when the time comes, because they usually do send you printable luggage tags depending on the cruise line. So you want to make sure that you have that online account set up for that cruise line. One savvy tip I want to leave with you is anything that you can pre-purchase prior to going on your cruise, make sure you do that. Especially, I can speak more confidently with Royal Caribbean, is that any dining, drinking packages, Wi-Fi, excursions that you have any interest in doing, you want to make sure that you pre-book these things, because that's where you're going to find the lowest price for them. And the prices do fluctuate depending on season, demand, as well as if there's any sales or promos. So you want to keep an eye on the price. And what's good is that even if you book it now and the price may go down, you can always cancel it and rebook at the new lower rate. But don't wait and say, oh no, I'll wait till I get on board to be able to book the spa package or book the drink package, because you will be paying prices up through the roof. Okay, so that is a tip. Anything that you can pre-purchase prior to your cruise, make sure that you do that so you can save the most bang for your buck. So there you have it, some simple steps to help you book your first cruise, so that way it does not have to be overwhelming. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. And also, leave in the comments down below, when is your next cruise and where you plan on going? And if you're still needing some assistance with planning your next cruise vacation, I'd love to help you. I'll leave my links in the description down below. And stay tuned for more cruise tips, reviews, and vlogs coming your way. Until the next time, guys, stay well and stay savvy, and I'll see you in the next video.